Are you a brilliant strategist or are you a brave warrior? Let's talk about that. Okay guys, to start off, I'm going to start apologizing now. I've just finished my exams, so that's the reason why I haven't been uploading as much, which I haven't yet, so I guess you shouldn't be worried about that in the first place. So yeah guys, I'm not dead. Okay, well, as my topic in the video first started out, this video is going to start talking about how you should probably try to determine if you are a strategist versus a warrior. Now, there are two types of athletes. One that likes to think calmly while fighting, or two, the type of person that likes to let their instincts loose and literally break through. One or the other is not bad. They're both very good traits. As a matter of fact, most athletes don't even have one or the other. They have a little bit of both, or they're in between. Now, the reason this topic is important is actually not mainly for the athlete itself, but for the actual coaches. Now, if you are an athlete and your own coach, then yeah, this is pretty important for you too. The first thing to talk about is, let's say you are a strategist. If you are a strategist, you have a characteristic of being very calm and like to think and generally calm. When you tell a strategist to throw a unique kick that they have never tried out before, their emotions don't get in the way, so they execute their strategy perfectly. However, the only problem with this is most strategists that I have seen don't have exactly that brute strength or that will exactly to push forward when they're like losing by, like, let's say 5-10 seconds and there's 5-10 seconds left on the clock. Then they're not the type of person that can explode if they needed to. Now, the warrior, on the other hand, is a type of athlete that doesn't like to think when they compete. These are the type of athletes that when you tell them to do something, they never tend to actually listen to you and do whatever they want to do. Now, this is where the coach's role really needs to come in. I know a lot of coaches out there get furious when their athletes don't do exactly what they're told to do, but listen. The athlete is seeing the actual thing in first-person perspective. You are seeing it in the third-person perspective. In other words, you are not that same person. You are not the person in the ring fighting, okay? So if you are the coach, you need to help that person nurture. That's what a good coach is, isn't it? Whether they're a strategist or a good warrior, you need to help whichever one they are. And so if they're a warrior type, you might want to focus more on, let's say, their strength. You need to prioritize their strength. Okay, so there's a quick little technique, methodical thinking technique that I use. It's called SWOT, and that represents strength, weakness, opportunity, and threats. So you need to prioritize these four scenarios, and you guys will have a pretty good idea of what to do. Strength. So let's say your athlete is a warrior. Okay, so if they're a warrior type, then let's say they like a specific kick and they're very explosive and good at it. Don't tell them to do something else. Try to make them be good around that technique. Make their techniques revolve around that technique, okay? You don't need to completely change them in a way that they're a completely different being, okay? Because they have a talent for that. If they naturally throw that from their natural instinct, that means that's their natural kick, okay? And that takes a lot of time to actually develop, so you don't want to just reverse that. So let's say your athlete is very good at double, triple kicks, okay? So then you can use, let's say the new trend is cuck kick. Then you can add the double, triple with the cuck kick. I'm not going to specific details, but that's a quick example. Weakness, of course, weakness is generally the opposite, okay? The strategist's weakness is their strength, and the warrior's weakness is their strategy. So you do need to still inform them. Just because they're one way or another doesn't mean you don't inform them of the techniques and the ideas of what to think of. So just because your athlete's a warrior doesn't mean you shouldn't teach them a technique. And now this is a message for your athletes. I strongly recommend you go find a master that has a good idea of what good techniques are and how to think during a fight, such as combinations, counters, setups. Your coach should know this much details at least, at the very minimum. Because the strength part of kicking and all that stuff, that honestly you can learn by yourself and by going to a personal trainer. Because let's be honest, if you want to really develop that strong, powerful kicks, time to hit those weights hard. So, well, that's my weakness topic of view. And opportunity. Now, this is something that a lot of coaches and athletes sometimes, that is their own coach, can't see sometimes. Opportunities come from the rules of Taekwondo itself, and some people tend to figure this out very quickly. Now, a good example of an athlete that pretty much executed this weakness of the rules, this loophole, was Wu Jingyu and Ahmad Abu Ghosh. They pretty much figured out how to use acrobatics and kicks that's not oriented, that's are actually considered kicks all the time. Like in real combat, like in MMA, you will never use those kicks. But in Taekwondo's rule system, it's very clever. That's why you definitely got to appreciate them. They're like the innovators. Now, the last part to talk about is the threats. Now, the threats is definitely your opponent. Now, this is a topic that I'm very sensitive about because you do need to know your opponent. I mean, even in the book of Art of War, it's stated that you should know your opponent too, right? But the thing is, don't be obsessed of observing your opponent, okay? Especially you coaches, don't. It doesn't matter how much you try. If you try to analyze your opponent, you'll never fully understand that opponent. Unless you've been analyzing them for years, solely just them, there's no way you're going to analyze them completely. I mean, look at your own athlete. You can't completely even analyze your own athlete. And I'm not saying this to hurt anyone's feelings, but this is this is the truth. Even athletes themselves, professional athletes, try to figure it out themselves and try to master themselves. So how are you going to find out about your opponent as best you can? You can't. So the best thing to do about analyzing your threat is know the general area of what he's good at. So for example, if your opponent's good at a right leg roundhouse kick, then you might want to start working a little bit on your guard for his right kicks. But don't be specific on, oh, he likes to go to the body sometimes, he goes to the heads this much percentage. Don't be too obsessed with the opponent, because you don't know. That opponent can switch strategies pretty much anytime he wants to. And you do not want to play a role of playing their game. You want to play your own game. Okay, so I just quickly analyzed the quick thinking method of SWOT that you can definitely use. And hopefully this helps you for your games. And yeah, this is a quick interview type of method of thinking of how to improve your games. So until next time, guys, see you guys later. Life is good, so enjoy it.